Welcome to Really Random Tutorials. Today I'll be walking you through my process for adding explosions in Blender. The technique I'll be using isn't exactly perfect, but it is a pretty quick and easy way to add an explosion to your scene that looks decently good. So first you'll open up Blender, you'll go to your compositing tab, check Use Nodes, select the render layers, hit X on the keyboard to delete that. Click Shift A to add, go to Input, and then select Movie Clip. Then click Shift A to add, go to Output, and select Viewer. Connect the image output from the movie clip to the image input of the viewer node. Then open up your clip of the original footage in this in the movie clip node. So I'll go to where I saved it and hit Open Clip. Click V on the keyboard, it'll zoom out, and Alt V to zoom in. I'm just going to scrub through here to see that my footage is working properly. And here you can see I have my footage moving right along. Alright, so the next thing you're going to do is we're going to input a clip of an explosion on a green screen. So you can get these off of YouTube, or I'll leave a link in the description to a couple of the ones I use. So when you go down to the link in the description, you'll download that video and you'll have to crop it to whichever explosion you want. So now you click Shift A to add, you're going to go to Input, and you're going to select Image. You're going to select Image even though your file will be a video. Then you're going to click Open. Go to where you have saved your explosion file. Mine's on the desktop. And I had already cropped it down to size. Now, I'm going to zoom in here. It has changed this to a movie as the output, and you'll have a couple of sliders. You'll have frames, start frame, and offset. For the frames is you'll put how many frames you're going to want this in for. I'm just going to set it to 300 for now. You can change it later or leave it how it is. Your start frame is when the video is going to start playing in your timeline. And the offset is when where in the video clip it'll start playing. So now that we've done that, I'm going to zoom out, click Shift A to add. You're going to go to, I'm going to go to the search and type in alpha over. Now you drop that between the movie clip and the viewer node. Now you're going to select the output image from your explosion to the bottom slider of the image. So here you'll see we have an explosion happening. If you can scrub through, you'll see the whole explosion go out. For right now there's a big green screen in the back and you can't see anything behind it. So what we're going to do is click Shift A to add. You can either type it in or go to Matte, and then select Keying, drop that in, and where it says Key Color, you're going to select that, click on the eyedropper, and select a green part of your other green screen, and it'll just make that disappear. You can affect the blur if you want. That's one of the main things. You can change or just go through and change any of the sliders you want to try, but the blur is usually just what I use in most cases. I'm going to set that kind of 0 for now. Alright, so now we have an explosion in our scene. If you scrub through, you'll see the whole explosion go off. Now it's not really where I want it at all. I kind of want the explosion to happen back here about the time she starts to jump down. So I'm just going to scrub through to where I want the explosion to start. Just going to scrub through. I think I want the explosion to start right about maybe here. Or as you're jumping down. So that's frame 189. So you'll go over here to your explosion node and click the start frame to 189. Or I'm actually going to set it to just 180 and see what happens. And then let's just see. I'll start there. Nope, I'm changing it back to 189. Alright, Except now you'll notice that when the explosion starts to go off, it's right here in the middle of the screen. So to fix that, we're going to add a transform node. So click Shift A to add. I'm going to go to the search and type in transform. Just drop that in your scene, right between the explosion and the mat. And now you can change the X and Y, so the Y is up and down, the X is left and right. So you're going to change the numbers to about where you want it. So I'm going to grab the slider, slide up or down, depending on where it is in your scene. Just drag that into place. I'll lower that back down. There's pretty good. Lower it down a little bit more. Alright, that's where I want it. So now if you scrub through here, it looks pretty good. It's not bad. Except I don't want the explosion to just be laid right on top of the scene. I want to have a little depth, so I want it in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the rendering tab up here on this picture, the drop down, click on that, select viewer node, and that'll let us see what's going on. Then you're going to go over here to view and select mask and then new. Now I'm just going to create a mask where I want my footage to be. So let's see. So I'm just going to click control. I'm going to start right here. Just make them quick. Just a quick one. And I think I want to go with that pull. I can't really see exactly what it is, but it'll work. And I click Alt-C to close it. That'll do for now. We can change it in a minute. We'll go back to the compositing tab. Click Shift-A to add. We're going to search for a mask. Just drop this in our scene. Let's see here. Oops. I'm gonna put this up here. Just rearrange this a little bit. All right. Then you're gonna plug the mask into the factor of the elf over. Now it'll disappear, but we're going to go Shift A to add and search for an invert node. Drop the invert node in, and now this will start to make it work properly. I hit the mask isn't selected yet, so in the mask node, click there and then select mask. Let's see here. Alright. And once you just kind of go through the timeline, through arrow key, you can just drag it. It'll update the mask. I'm just going to leave it there for a second. I'm going to go back to the rendering tab, and I'm just going to really align these to where I want the mask to be. And it will update in real time. I mean, not real time, but pretty close to it. So you can just adjust this to about how you want it. So it's not clipping through the bushes or having too much extra space. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the better you have it, the better your scene's going to look. And if you click Control and click anywhere on this strand, it'll add just another dot, so you can add a little more detail to your mask. And anywhere this mask is covering, it won't be seen. Alright, now let's go back to the compositing tab. This looks pretty good. Now this will be looking better when it's actually moving, but you get the idea. However, I don't like how hard these edges are. I'm going to add a blur node. I'm going to click Shift A to add. You can either go to the search, type in blur, or go to distort. Or, yeah. Filter. You go to filter, select blur, and drop that in. It's right between those, the alpha over and the invert. Now if you just drag these sliders up a little bit, it'll blur X, which is side to side, Y up and down. So you just decide about how much you want to blur, and it makes it look a lot better when you blur it like that. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I think that looks pretty good. A few other things you can do is you can add a hue saturation value node if you want to change the color a little bit. So click Shift A to add. If you go to, you can either search it or you can go to color, and then click on hue saturation value. Drop it in right after the keying node, and leave the factor up. You can change the value a little bit if you want. It'll make it brighter for this explosion. The saturation I want to increase a little bit, and that makes the orange stick out a bit. And the hue I'm gonna lower, and this will make it either, it'll just change the color. So depending on what color explosion you want, I'm just gonna change right about there. I'm gonna increase the value a little bit. 1.4. So that's it. But don't forget you have to connect to your composite node, otherwise when you render you'll just get black frames. Connect the alpha over to the composite node, and that'll be the explosion. So now you can scrub through this. To view it, whenever you're ready, you'll just go over here to the output properties, set a destination folder. I'm going to do the desktop. Just name it, put accept. Now here you need to change the file format. You can either leave it as a PNG, or I'm going to change it to an FFmpeg, which is a video file. Go to encoding, change the container to MPEG-4. I want the quality to be changed a little bit, so under video it defaults to medium quality. I'm going to bring it to high, and all you gotta do is click render and render animation, and it'll go through and render, and when it's done you'll find it wherever you have saved it, and I'll show you that in a second. Alright, so it's done rendering. As you can see, we're just gonna minimize these for now, just in case. And I saved it over here on the desktop, so I'm just gonna open that up. And here we can watch the final video. Now you can add some sound to that if you want. And here you can see my mask wasn't quite big enough, so there's some floating parts of the debris from the explosion. So that's from when my mask only went to about there. So all you have to do is to fix that, is put the mask out more. But that's about it, and that's my quick and easy way of putting explosions in your scene in Blender. This is much easier, so that you don't have to actually create any explosions. You can just get them off the internet. So if you need an explosion, you can find it and link in the description. You can just download that. If you enjoyed the video or learned something, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.